you get plenty of coverage of Oklahoma State football. You think you hear all the noise coming from Gallagher-Iba Arena when you get your Cowboy basketball news. But you don't.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
And there's a couple of Jordans here to fix just that. This is the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast.
This could be a podcast. Anyone with a computer can make one.
And here are your hosts, Jordan Keene and Jordan Bishop.
Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast, Triple Play Podcast Network, usually broadcasting from the Triple Play production studios. Today's a little bit different. Between our schedules, Jordan, it worked out that the easiest way was to come on over and do it from my humble abode here in Stillwater, North Stillwater. I'm not going to tell everyone exactly where I live, but appreciate you coming up here, and I'm be heading to bed after this, so...
Yeah, you got a nice setup, and I appreciate you staying up. I know.
No, you're good.
You got unlike me, you actually get up early in the morning, so I sleep in. So,
but it's the late night podcast. Always happy to be talking Cowgirl sports, and today is certainly no different when it comes to that. Jordan, this coming up. You got Grace Yochum on the podcast. This was a fun interview. No, it's not necessarily just because she scored a wonder goal and scored both goals against St. Louis this weekend. Although, she has the credentials to be on the podcast. But no, that was a fun interview. We'll have that coming up. But a big week for soccer because tomorrow I'll get this post up. I'm not going to post this tonight. So it'll end up
game day though.
Yeah, it'll be game day when people if they listen to it right when it comes out Thursday. The 12th is when they go up to Pennsylvania, and they're up there already, get up there and get situated before a top 10 matchup. Now, once again, Penn State slid in the rankings a little bit. They're down to number 8, but still a top 10 matchup for Oklahoma State. And this is a Penn State, and we'll get to Penn State in just a second. But this is a Penn State squad that is highly decorated. Won the 2015, I believe, national championship.
Runner-up. 2016, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a team that's always in the Final Four, always in the College Cup. I think they have 7 or 8 appearances in the College Cup overall. I mean, they're as close to a dynasty in the Big Ten as you probably get in women's soccer. They have some terrific, and then their schedule is always really good. And we'll get to the RPI thing and the scheduling from that as well, from the Oklahoma State side of things. Because right now they're sitting in the 50s, which would obviously not put them in the tournament. But you look at who they're about to play, and you realize why. And we have this conversation every year. You realize why Coach Carmichael and his crew is just about always in the NCAA tournament. We also get to that with Grace Yochum as well. So fun podcast coming up. Fun conversation with her. I was editing that today, and just kind of going back there again. The end of that podcast was fun.
Yeah.
Is she going to kick in the NFL? We'll see. No, that was fun. So, and her favorite U.S. Women's National Team player is my favorite, Carly Lloyd. So,
yeah, you have her jersey.
Yeah, I do. A little player shirt, a little player tee. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, that's all good stuff. But when you're talking about Penn State, and certainly going on the road, it's always a tough team to play. But Penn State has a trio of players that is as good as probably most as you're going to find in the country. They're dominant all across the pitch. They got a good goalkeeper as well. But the Mac Hermann Trophy, there you go. So what I read, and I should know this anyways because I'm a big soccer fan, but for some reason, somewhere along the line, I think I was misguided. I thought the Mac Hermann Trophy was kind of like the Player of the Year trophy for track, where it's like men's and women's combined, and then you only get one. I believe there's a men's and a women's award for the Mac Hermann Trophy. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Whoever told me that somewhere along the line has me all messed up. So it'll be interesting to see. I always like that conversation at the end of the year because there's so many good college soccer players when you really dive into it on both the men's and the women's side. And I've always been kind of really invested in the men's side of soccer at the collegiate level. Still am with Wisconsin and stuff like that. I was a student manager there. But when you go to the preseason watch list, you're going to find 3 Penn State players on there. You got number 3, one of their defenders, Kaylee Reel. She's on there. She's a senior. A midfield/forward, number 17 if you're watching the game tomorrow on BTN Plus, if you have that, Sam Coffey. And then number 19, midfielder and forward, Frankie Tagliaferri. She is also, I believe she's a senior, or no, she's a junior. So 2 juniors and a senior. A couple of these players going to come back. Sam Coffey, the rich get richer. She transfers in from Boston College. So this was already a good Penn State team. She slots in and so far has been a nice player for them, talking about Sam Coffey. But frankly, Tagliaferri leads this team in goals. She has 4 goals, 3 assists, 11 points. And you compare that's about the same as what J.C. Jones outputs for Wisconsin, for Oklahoma State. But obviously you look at the schedule that Penn State plays, and this is a really good team. I mean, they played number 3 at the time, number 2 now Stanford. You got Hofstra there, Long Beach State, number 22 West Virginia. We talked a little bit about that.
With.
Yeah, and that was in Morgantown as well. So Stanford goes to Penn State and loses. That's a tough place to play. We've been talking about that the last couple of times. You win or you get a draw on the road in Morgantown. We know how tough it is to play in Morgantown. We've seen that from the Cowgirls. So going to be a tough task for them, and they have a bunch of really good players. The other thing, Allie Schlegel for Penn State, again, rich get richer. She's a freshman. She won the freshman and the freshman and the offensive player of the week in the Big Ten. So she was the freshman of the week and the overall offensive player of the week. So, I mean, she comes in and she steps up. She's got 4 goals already this season as well. And you go down the list, Sam Coffey's got 3. And you just realize this is a team that can really score goals in bunches. And then you go to the defensive side of things, and they don't give up many goals, especially at home.
Yeah. And it's a team that at Jeffries Field, it's hard to win there. And that's what we talked to Coach Carmichael about was, you come in the last year, they host Florida, who is, I think they were top 10 at the time, and you beat them here. And that's such a big win at Neil Patterson Stadium. Before that, it was a second or third match there. But when you go on the road, it's a different story. And you mentioned that because they went to Florida State a couple years ago. They were, I think, number 1, number 2, he said, and they drew, and they held on for dear life just to draw in that game. And then they went on the road and in the tournament a couple years ago, Stanford, it was tough there. The road matches are so much harder than going and staying at home. And we mentioned that, I think, last week we were talking about Maryland, I think, who they have a Raucous Arena, or Raucous Arena. I have basketball in the mind. A Raucous Field there, Raucous Stadium. And I'm excited to hear that you mentioned it was on Big Ten Plus because I saw OSU's schedule and then it said they didn't have any TV there. And I was like, that's kind of weird. That's not televised at least somewhere. But now that you told me it's on Big Ten Plus, so I don't have it. I have the most basic cable package ever.
Yeah.
But it is nice to see it's going to be televised somewhere. I think it's going to be a good game. And talking to Grace Yochum, not only her this week, but Cammie Huddleston and Coach Carmichael, they all think it's going to be a good match. Claire Ganser said last week the teams aren't as separated as people think just based on the rankings. So we'll see that come to fruition on Thursday.
Yeah, and when you talk about, the Big Ten Network, I no idea what's programming on the regular Big Ten Network at that time, but the Big Ten Plus, I was a little shocked because I understand women's soccer at the collegiate level is probably not, especially in the Big Ten. I mean, the Big Ten, you have Indiana on the men's side. That is a story. I mean, that's about as storied as it gets on the men's side. They've won a ton of titles on the men's side. You got Maryland who comes into the Big Ten. They're a huge soccer program. So men's soccer in the Big Ten is a huge deal. There's no doubt about that. But I thought this might have a chance to be on the Big Ten network. Turns out it's not Big Ten Plus. But if I don't still have it, I may try to see if one of my family members still has it up there in Wisconsin.
Isn't that a requirement if you live in the Big Ten country?
It should be, man. Well, and the BTN does a cool thing, and I don't know if they still do this, but when I was a Wisconsin student, you could the BTN Plus version, because obviously they have the linear Big Ten network, but the Big Ten Plus, the online, kind of what the ESPN Plus Big 12 now is, they have that, and you could get a special subscription. You could either pay for it all, which was like $20 a month, or you could just get every Wisconsin event. Basketball, volleyball, soccer. You could just get a school or you could just get a sport, which I thought was kind of cool if you wanted to personalize it a little bit. Obviously, it's very cheap to get the Big 12 now. So if they ever get it more expensive, that's something they should look into. Is just like I
school
want the
or
Oklahoma
sport,
State,
yeah.
I want that kind of package. So I don't know, but that's kind of cool for the Big Ten. I don't know if they do that still, but I would be interested to see what it would cost for a monthly subscription or a 1 month subscription to the Penn State one, because that would be worth getting just to watch this game, in my opinion. So we'll see. Hopefully, I can. If I got to pony up a few pennies, I'll do it to watch this game, because I think it's going to be a really good one. So, and obviously we talked to Carmichael. You mentioned that Claire Ganser, she said there's not a huge difference between what they are and right now, if you look at the votes, probably a mid-30s team in terms of the rankings versus a top 10 team, and I think that's the case. I don't think there's a ton that separates them. Does Penn State have an overall better team? Yes. Are their best players better than the best players for Oklahoma State? I think so. But at the end of the day, it's not like they're 4 or 5 goals better, and I'll be shocked if that's the score. I would be shocked if they end up 3 or 4 goals better than Oklahoma State. I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah, and that's the thing that Coach Carmichael talked about. That yes, this is a team that's talented all across the field, and you even mentioned the players they have, the caliber players they have, but he said there's going to be some kind of luck to it. They're going to have some missed chances, and the Cowgirls will have to take advantage of those chances and make the best of them. The goal has to be very good at goal. You have to be very good for the Cowgirls, because there's such an aggressive team at Penn State. They can get on the board early, and it's going to be playing top notch. You can't have any letdown. You have to be playing the best you can absolutely play to get a win up there. And it is a daunting task. But the thing is that they've been talking about this whole week was, after last weekend, they didn't look too far ahead. We saw that they took care of business. Clearly won 8 goals combined in the 2 matches last week, and they just focus on themselves. And that's what they talked about all yesterday. Availability was focus on themselves and what kind of team they have, and not what kind of team Penn State has. And that's what Cammie Huddleston talked about. Was it's a team, the Cowgirls are a team that they see their strengths as just their camaraderie, their friendship. They work very well together. They work in sync. There's not any disjointedness at all. And that's what she sees, that if they go in there and play as a team, yes, it's going to be tough to go beat number 8 team in the country on the road, especially in a place you've never been if you're most of these players. And you're going to be a huge underdog. But if you play as a team and play with one mindset, it's possible. It's not out of the question.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and I think that's a good point. I'm just looking at the Big Ten Network schedule here. They're running the Big Show at 6 o'clock.
The Big Show, the wrestler?
No, the Big Show is their. It's kind of like their Sports Center.
Oh, okay.
Get an inside look at what's going on around the Big Ten, including exclusive interviews, guests, and in-depth analysis. So yeah, it's essentially their Sports Center, and then they have BTN Football in 60, which is just abbreviated games, and they're going to show Syracuse, Maryland, which was a rout for Maryland last weekend, and then they're going to show BTN Women's Soccer. They're going to show live NC State at Minnesota. Why not show your marquee team?
Yeah.
Why not show off your marquee team? Doesn't make sense. But maybe they know that those Penn State fans that won't be able to get to the game are crazy enough to have the BTN Plus subscription.
Maybe.
So that could be too. So, but interesting stuff there. I'm looking forward to the match tomorrow. I'm gonna, as I said, try to tune in if I can, and get kind of go from there. Then you come home, get Omaha. That should be. I don't want to sell Omaha short, but and I don't want to just say you just need to roll the ball out, because that's not the case at any, in any match, any competition at the college level. But this is as close as it's going to get. Like, this is a team that you should beat, kind of like a Lamar, kind of like an Oral Roberts, maybe Central Arkansas. Go out there, get it done. Beat them, then you get your break, and you can kind of look forward to the rest of the schedule and what's up to come the following week. Which honestly, I'm not really sure what's next, because I've been looking forward to this Penn State match. So this is the one that non-conference wise been scheduled or been circled, because it's a really good team. So I'll tell you what, let's listen to Grace Yochum's interview. We'll go to that. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the RPI. It's something Coach Carmichael really prides himself on and prides his program on playing a really tough schedule. They're doing the same thing this year. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up next. But right now, here is Grace Yochum on the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast. Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast. Jordan and Jordan with you down here at Neil Patterson Stadium, episode 31, and joined now by Grace Yochum, and appreciate you taking out a few minutes and joining the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited. Never done a podcast, so this will be fun.
Pretty easy. So we asked JC to start off last week, and kind of seems like a natural starting off point. If you take yourself back to high school and your recruitment process and club soccer and all of that, what kind of... And if you can take yourself back there, like what drew you to Oklahoma State just back then?
Yeah, so I kind of had a different recruiting process. I originally was committed to Mississippi State, and then that kind of fell through. And so it was a pretty tough time for me deciding where to go, because at that point I was a junior when everything fell through. So most colleges had pretty much all their spots filled up. So I found Oklahoma State through my coach, who was buddies with Colin, and just came out, talked to them, played in front of them, and they liked what they saw, and I liked what I saw, and so we just said, let's do it.
So was it a situation where they did they like recruit you before you signed with Mississippi State? So that was just kind of a... It
was like, here I am, please take me kind of thing.
Obviously, another thing is, so many recruits are certainly drawn to Neil Patterson Stadium. You didn't, necessarily have to play back 20 years ago when it was a slanted field, but just talk a little bit about the progress that Neil Patterson Stadium is, and just kind of what a blessing it is for your team.
Yeah, so I played when obviously the stadium wasn't fully finished, so I think that was kind of cool to be able to live in that older stage of the whole program and experience that, because obviously everybody wants to come into a brand new $20 million stadium, but I think it was kind of like a character growing, that kind of thing. Like you get to go through the tough times and live in, have a dorm be your locker room. So I think that how hard it was in the moment, it's kind of shaped the girls that have been here the longest to, kind of fight and go the extra mile kind of thing.
When we talked to JC last week, obviously she's a senior, but you being here your second year, we'll be seeing, just in these 2 years growing from high school to college, because you always talk about transitioning, and, defense is always the hardest one to adjust to at the college game. But what have you seen so far in your own personal game getting better?
The biggest thing for me, y'all probably didn't see me in high school, but I was a twig. So I think coming in here and working with Mal and Todd and getting stronger and bigger and not just being like easy to be pushed over has been the biggest thing for me. But while keeping my speed and agility and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think the biggest thing was getting stronger for sure.
A lot of colleges, I don't know if you hear about it a lot, but here at Oklahoma State, everybody talks about the strength and conditioning program, like you mentioned. Is that something when you're being recruited, do they show you like the weight room and all that stuff, or is that just something that Oklahoma State does?
No, everybody shows that, but especially here, we have such an awesome strength and conditioning staff, and the facilities are second to none here. So they for sure show us that on our visits.
How overall do you think that helps you with the game, just being strong overall? Because JC, with how small she is, she says it helps her get better with physical contact. But how overall has it helped your game?
Yeah, same here. It's also helped because I also, like JC, I kind of fall a lot. So when I hit the ground, it doesn't, hurt as much. I'm learning how to use my body to roll with it and not get injured. So I think Mal she's helped us with kind of ACL prevention stuff, landing, exploding kind of stuff. So I think overall it's been great for us.
Big 12 soccer, what was when you first got into your first Big 12 game last year? Well, I suppose it was probably OU non-conference, and you kind of got the baptism by fire in Bedlam to start off the season. But Big 12 soccer, just what was that like, your first experience?
Yeah, so over 4,000 people for your first Big 12 experience. That was an eye-opener for sure. But I think it's different from Big 12 and preseason in the sense of it means more, I guess, because it's conference. These teams, you want to beat them. You want to try everything you can think of to beat them. But I think in the long run, winning in the Big 12 kind of means more, obviously, in the overall standings.
Last year, just a couple spots outside of the RPI from getting in the tournament. Obviously, that's a goal for this team. I'm assuming that's probably part of the reason you came here to play at the highest level. What are you kind of looking forward to? Can you kind of talk about the hunger this team has to get back to postseason play?
Yeah, so we kind of started off the same way last year. I mean, we were on, like, what, a 3-game winning streak or something. So we're rolling. We're doing well. Obviously, this Thursday is going to be a big test for us. But I hope that this year we take our momentum and we carry it. Even if we have a couple hiccups and we drop a couple games, we don't just, crumble from that. Because last year, obviously, it was kind of a weird year. But for me, that being my first year, I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea. So I think this year, a lot of us, we have a pretty experienced team. So I think the future's looking good as far as I'm concerned.
How do you see your role on this team? You've only been here, this is only your second year, but in terms of experience, you still are one of the more experienced players on the field. What do you see your role on this team being?
Like you said, being more of a leader, being more, getting on to people or encouraging them more or having more of a say in decisions or whatever. But I think this year we'll be kind of not even thinking about next year, but kind of preparing. Like, after this year, I mean, we're losing so many people. So I need, as me and Allie and other people and Cammie and Kim, like, we need to have more of a say, and we need to kind of be a bigger voice than what we have been, because in the coming years it's not going to be like this.
Personally, what drew you to soccer, and do you have any plans of playing it after college? Is that something that appeals to you?
Well, first of all, what drew me to soccer was, I was a kid that played all sports. I played basketball, soccer, I did baseball, softball, everything. But I think what I love about soccer the most was how physical, yet how, elegant and creative it can be. They say it's the most beautiful game, but I just think it's so fun, honestly. And I haven't really thought about playing after college. I don't really know what I want to do, to be honest, but we'll see.
Any thoughts on what you want to do education-wise, or your major is, and all that kind of stuff?
So my major is education, and I'm minoring in coaching. So as of right now, I really want to be a coach. I've already worked with Michael and Justin about coaching and coaching their teams and helping them out, and it's a big passion of mine, and I can really see myself doing that post-college.
Any level you want to attain? You want to be a college coach someday, maybe?
Probably a high school coach, because college, what I learned, it's a business, honestly, more in that aspect. But in high school, you can't really recruit. If I do a public school, if I go back home, it's more of you take what you can get and you make the best of it. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, I guess.
Is that a big, down in Houston, is that, is soccer a big thing a lot of kids do? Is that one of the biggest sports down there?
Yeah. Soccer for girls is huge. It's kind of like soccer, especially at my high school. My senior year, we won state, so that was a big deal, and that kind of helped propel it to the next level. But yeah, soccer's huge in Houston.
Now, we talked to plenty of student athletes. We know that time in season is at a premium for student athletes. You guys have pretty much your entire schedule kind of laid out for you, but maybe outside of season, or if you do find some free time, what are some things you like to do outside of just soccer?
That's a good question. We don't really have much time, but when we do, like last night we went bowling. So the little pockets of time we do have, we make the most of them, because soccer is our life and it is a full-time job, but you have to find the moments when to just enjoy yourself, because it can't always be a grind, or you're gonna lose the love for being here and being a part of this. So obviously everyone on this team is some of my best friends, so we'll just go out, go to the lake, go to the pool, drive around, whatever, hang out.
I just imagine that not every team has that kind of relationship between. Have you been on teams where it's like you wouldn't necessarily hang out with them outside of soccer, and then obviously this team, it sounds like you guys kind of get along outside of the field? I
have. The teams where we're more kind of united and we're closer, we usually do better than when we come to practice because we have to, and after that see you next week or whatever. But I think you build a camaraderie with each other, and it's just overall you want to play with you want to play for the girl next to you. You want to play for her. You want to go and make that tackle because she just made a one previously or whatever. But like in high school for my freshman year, we weren't that close and we didn't do so well. My senior year, we still keep in touch. We still, when we go back home, we all hang out. We make time for each other, and we did well that year. So I think it does translate onto the field. For sure.
Overall, looking at women's sports as a whole, this is kind of a stock question we ask everyone: the growth of women's soccer, the advancement of women's soccer, and then obviously at the college level, it continues to advance as well. How cool is it to be a part of that? And then, what's the next step?
It's huge. I think soccer continues to grow every year, and with the World Cup just happening and the USA doing so well, it only benefits us, and it's great to be a part of that because I want it to be where soccer is like the sport, But I think as it continues to grow, we don't need the stuff like that happened with AD. We don't need that kind of stuff in our sport or in any sport. We don't need that in society. But I think the path that we're on, it's going in the right direction.
In terms of being a role model, certainly you want to get into coaching. What kind of path or role do you see yourself being in the advancement or continued advancement of the sport?
So I've had a lot of mentors and role models myself growing up, and they've kind of shaped me to be who I am. So for me, looking forward and growing up, I really want to be that kind of person that I had. I want to help them when they're down, help them, whatever they need. So I think me continuing to work with these kids and to show that how much we care about them and how much we love them could only benefit them.
Who has been your mentor on this team specifically?
Question. Like older or like how much older?
Like when you came in last year as a freshman, who helped you around? Who helped you kind of learn the ropes here and get acclimated?
I would say probably, Julia was my big, and she played the same position as me. So I guess I kind of looked up to her the most. I mean, we kind of related more with each other, and we still hang out. But I'm closest to Allie and Kim. But I think Julia was a big role model for me, and still is. She's an awesome person, great athlete.
Who's your roommate on this team?
Allie Jackson.
So most times whenever I talk to athletes, there's interesting stories. Like in terms of somebody who doesn't know how to cook certain things or stuff like, just TV shows you watch, or what's kind of like the, apartment life with Allie?
Allie's a fun girl. So we live at Aspen, but we've had, I don't want to kind of throw Aspen under the bus, but we've had a rat or a mouse situation, and it happened the beginning of preseason, but we had 5 mice in the last 2 weeks a couple months ago. And it was a trial for sure. It pushed us. I mean, because we would get home at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock after preseason. We're exhausted, dead, and I look in the pantry and there's rats on sticky pads and there's like poop everywhere. And so that was kind of tough. But living with Allie, she is one of my best friends. So it was really fun to go through that whole thing with her. She's awesome.
I lived out in the country a few years ago, or by McMurtry, and there's mice everywhere, and I couldn't do the sticky pads because you just hear them. Yeah. So I'd have to use just the old-fashioned traps. But I don't know. Why'd you choose sticky pads? That's the one that I wanted, because you just see them die.
We did both, honestly, because the sticky pads weren't working because I don't know how, but they were getting around them somehow. And so then Claire's boyfriend came over and he was like, you need the real traps. We're going to put peanut butter on them. Like, I still have one under my bed right now. So my whole room smells like peanut butter. But yeah, we caught one on the way, like after we got home from, from Beaumont. We got home and there was one caught in Allie's room. And that was, you would have thought someone had died. I mean, Allie was freaking out. It was funny, but the rat was dead. Thank gosh.
So to some positive memories, what do you remember or going to remember most just from your first 2 years so far? I know it's only basically a year and a half, but what overall do you like enjoying about college right now?
College in general, I mean, it's different, obviously, from being away from home. I kind of like being independent and being on my own and kind of figuring it out by myself. But the things and the memories that I've had that are the best are probably, I mean, I don't know if anybody's talked about Kima Boardwalk that we just went on. That will go down in history as like Karen said, a classic. They pranked me and everything, and we had a great time with that.
So overall, what was that experience like?
We all grew. The whole point of it, I kind of set the whole experience, not the experience, but the whole event up, if you will. And my kind of imagination for it all was, I want us to grow closer. I want us to have fun. You know, put the ball away. My coaches always say, like in high school, you got to put the ball away sometimes and just live a little and have fun with your friends because you'll get tired of it. And I just wanted to go to this amusement park and have a good time and get to know these freshmen more, let the freshmen get to know us more, and overall, you cannot sway it. I mean, it was a great experience.
All right, last couple for me. Do you have a favorite professional soccer team?
Can it be anything, even EPL?
Yep.
I'll probably say Man U. I'll go Justin.
And do you have I'm Chelsea. And do you have a favorite player that you grew up that either you wanted to model your game after, or you just enjoyed watching play?
Growing up, I always watched the U.S. Women's National Team, and Carly Lloyd, obviously, superstar. So she was kind of I want to be like Carly Lloyd. That was kind of my whole mindset. But yeah, she was my superhero.
You aren't going to try to kick in the NFL, though, are you?
Hey, if they call me, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, good stuff. Grace, appreciate it. We'll let you get going. Good luck at Penn State this week, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
There you go. Jordan and Jordan will finish up the podcast right after this. Welcome back into the Jordan King Studios here here in my apartment. Hopefully this sounds okay. You know, if it does,
I bet it does. I don't know the headphones on that you do.
Yeah, hopefully and it sounds good in my ears right now. But the question is, what does it sound like coming up when it goes on? That's the real question. So we'll find out. We'll find out coming up here. But appreciate you listening to episode 31. And we're having fun up here talking a little late-night soccer, a little late-night Cowgirl Coverage podcast action. That's what we're doing. So that was Grace Yochum. Appreciate her joining us again there at Neil Patterson Stadium. As we teased kind of before that, looking at the RPI, right now Oklahoma State comes in at about 51 is where they come in. And, that would be probably outside of where you would get into the NCAA tournament. I think this is about where they were last year, right around the 50 mark to 10 last season. But this should get better. And obviously you got to take care of the business in some of these games, but you're playing a really tough schedule. So right now you're sitting at 51. OU's the best team that you've played. I believe maybe St. Louis is. Let's see here. Let's see if the computer wants to work. St. Louis is 43, so they're actually ahead of you, and that's a team that you beat fairly handily. Now it's just 2 goals, but if you watched the game, they were in control certainly in the second half. So that was good to see. Coming up on their schedule, these are scheduled opponents for Oklahoma State. You have Baylor. Baylor is 5 right now in the RPI.
Wow.
So, very high team in the RPI. And, check all of this. I shouldn't even have pulled this up, apparently, because they didn't update the RPI yet. So
really?
This is still from,
last year?
Last year?
Oh,
wow.
Is it I think it's the where softball is or baseball, where they might not start doing it until the midseason.
Okay, well, scratch the RPI. But if you go back to last season... If you do go back to last season, you look at the Big 12. The Big 12 RPI-wise, they have about 7 teams in the top 25 in the RPI, which is something that you obviously plays a huge part. Penn State, again, ranked 8th, and then to go find other teams that Oklahoma State are going to have to play. TCU is 17, Kansas is 18, West Virginia 23. As we told you a little bit, I think it was last week that they fell out. Texas no longer receiving votes in the top 25. So Texas has kind of fallen down. And in regional rankings, Texas is actually, you look at the Midwest region, it's all Big 12 teams, and then it's Ball State and one other kind of mid-major school, and Texas is actually ranked behind them. in the rankings. So Texas kind of not the non-conference that you want to have.
Yeah, they're free falling right there, and I think I know the RPI hasn't come out, or it probably won't be coming out until probably the Big 12 season starts. Usually that's when they start doing that. But even talking to Colin yesterday, this is going to be something that's going to be good in your tournament resume.
Yeah.
Win or lose or draw, it's going to help you out a lot. Just playing a team like this, and he tries to have one every single year, just to help out, because you're going to play a lot of, I won't say tune-up games, but you're going to play a lot of smaller mid-majors during the non-conference just to get into shape. But playing a team like this helps out the RPI, because you're going to get the RPI when you play your West Virginias, your Texases,
right,
when they have a good season, which I think they still will have a good season. Your Baylors, teams
TCU.
like that, TCUs, that it will get there.
Right.
So.
And you always have the comfort that about half those teams you end up playing on the road.
Yeah.
This year you go to Morgantown. Like that is a very high RPI match, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stuff that you got to kind of keep in mind when you're talking about this. But yeah, looking forward to tomorrow. It is a 6 p.m. game local time, because obviously Penn State out there on the East Coast, so they operate on East Coast time. So good stuff. So a lot of players to watch if you're just a soccer fan, a women's soccer fan. This is probably one you want to watch. And Penn State's going to be a team that you end up watching a lot anyways, because this is a team that I think is going to have a say when it's all said and done, and in who ends up lifting the trophy to close out the season in women's soccer. So good stuff there. Before we, we'll continue on here, Jordan. Before we finish up with a little tennis news, just kind of a off-season tournament going on for them, kind of a professional tournament. We'll get to that in just a second. But the Greg Robertson era is underway, and my goodness, is it underway? He had 27 head coaching wins at Kent State. We told we knew that when he come in. We kind of talked about that here on the podcast. He gets win 28 in his first. He's 1-0. He's 1-0 as a Cowgirl head coach, and he's still a Cowboy, but as the Cowgirl head coach, good. What a homecoming! I mean, he goes down to SMU, down to Dallas, the Trinity Forest Invitational, and
they won by 6 strokes.
Yeah, started out a little rocky.
Yeah.
So, was at one point they were in. I think there were 10 teams there. I think they were in tied for 7th or 8th place at one point early on in round 1, but 36 holes on day 1. And those last 27 holes were really, really terrific. And all of a sudden, you're under par heading into the final day, and they get it done. Yeah,
definitely. And it's the 94th, I think, win for Oklahoma State in team history. Only the 10th time they ever started the year out with a win. So 27. I'm not good at math here, but he already had 27 wins coming in from Kent State. So he already had a third of OSU's all-time win total.
Yeah.
At Kent State in like 5 years or 6 years, however long.
Yeah.
So that's great, and we were kind of, I wouldn't say we were doubting him, because we've been talking about him all summer long, but we were kind of curious to see the starting 5 last week, and we're like, oh, well, no, you don't have Hanswan Yu in there. What's going to happen there? But he knew what he was doing, so they came out, on fire, and it's it's nice to see. We talked about how much we love seeing Cowboy golf succeed and all they do, but it's nice to see Cowboy golf get back to that level. And I know it's only a fall tournament and it's the first one of the year, but it's nice to see them back on that level and see them winning like that in that fashion.
Yeah, and actually, if Hanswan Yu would have been in the starting 5 this week, and again, you get the win. You don't always analyze it like we do. If she was in, they would have been 4 strokes better over the course of the weekend. But that's not, you don't go back and kind of critique when you win the whole thing. She competed unattached. Hanswan Yu did. She finished tied for 8th. All 6 golfers that she had golfing in the tournament finished in the top 25. You had Isabella Fierro. She was terrific in her debut. Thank God she did this, because we've been hyping her up all summer long. She went 1 under, 2 under, and even par, so she finished for a 3-round total of 3 under. That was good for 4th in the tournament. Had a couple of veterans from Texas Tech, Colorado, and one other school that ended up kind of running away with it. 7, 8, 9, 10 under par. Those terrific weekends for them, and congratulations to them getting off their seasons to a good start. But this is a freshman. This is a true freshman. And then Haley Jones, also a true freshman.
Hometown kid.
No doubt. Coming back to Dallas, and she goes 1 under, couple over par, and then even par. She finishes 1 over for 7th place. So, I mean, your 2 lowest scorers are true freshmen.
Yeah.
And then your next best 2, tie for 8th, Han Swan Yu. She didn't compete with you, but she's still your golfer. And then tie for 11th, Leanna Bailey. Both of those 2 are sophomores. So you look at this team, and Jordan, and all of a sudden, again, got to give some credit to Courtney Jones because she recruited all of these girls, and she got them in the program. But it's amazing whether it's just a change of the voice in the locker room, whether it's something technical that Coach Robertson brings to the table. I'm not really sure what it is, but you get a win in the first one. And I'm not saying like you didn't play you weren't playing against Vanderbilt or OU or Texas or anything like that, but these were still, Texas Tech and Baylor, both those teams are Big 12 teams. Baylor finished out just outside of the top 25 last year, and you beat Baylor by 12 strokes here this weekend. So overall, just a really good weekend. By the way, Michelle Forsland and Emma Whitaker, the other 2 that were in the starting 5.
I think it's I don't know if it's technique or what, or a different voice, but I think it might be those push-ups that Coach Swaney does. I think that's what, having a coach like her, and we saw the tandem that both her and Coach Robertson have on the recruiting trail, and Coach Robertson spoke very highly of her back in June when we talked to him, and so I think maybe having something like that, it's. Probably not. They're all really good golfers, but that's just, it's fun to have that in the clubhouse, and just to have that kind of, looseness, in a game that's all focused on the mentality and how, every single movement can change where the ball lands or where a ball goes. To have just kind of a loose feeling around the whole clubhouse.
Well, you saw on Twitter and actually, going just back to Stephen Howard. Afterwards he tweeted out on his personal account. He's like, in case you can't tell, this is a really fun, lighthearted group to be around, and I think you might be onto something there. The Cowgirl Golf Twitter account posted a photo of Coach Swaney halfway through the round squirting water on Isabella Fierro, just kind of like, and she was like, just kind of keeping it loose, and that, you might be onto something. Like, I think like when we think of sports, that's what you want, right? Like you want to be playing and competing and just kind of be loose and having fun, and that's why we play sports to begin with, and perhaps that is what this team needed. I'm not really sure, but so far so good. Whatever it was, Coach Robertson, don't change the recipe. But it'll be interesting to see. Does he shake things up? Han Swan Yu played really well. Did she earn her way into the team? Who knows? But Emma Whitaker, she was 8 over. She was she had the highest score on the team, but she was still in the top 25. She's been kind of a staple over the past year. Do you keep the veteran presence in there? She's a junior. Michelle Forsland is a senior. Those 2 are really the 2 veterans you have on the team. And then I guess you just got to find out. Do you need those 2 in your lineup to kind of help the Isabella Fierros, Haley Jones, Leanna Bailey, Han Swan Yu? Do they provide like a calming factor? I think that's kind of the interesting thing, and obviously Coach Robertson knows.
Yeah, it's kind of an embarrassment of riches, a little bit. We talked about, and we it's not as bad for Coach Young and tennis, because he usually doesn't recruit as many backups, as you say, or I guess substitutions or depth, because you have 6 players playing. It's not 1 through 5. But we talk about where
you can get a 7th or an 8th in a doubles.
Yeah. But we talk about in that how you want to do matchups, and you'll get to that whenever you do match play. For golf as well, about who who you want to match them up against. But I think
already talking about match play.
but yeah, I think this is a time where you can experiment. It's the fall season. You can see where you want to have players go, and maybe you put Haley Jones back in there and say, hey, I think you can improve over last week, and try to just push her a little bit. and then have Han Swan keep going individual-wise, and then maybe that'll just make her even hungrier to get back into the lineup. So it's a lot of things you can do if you're Greg Robertson. I think is next week when they're going to golf. Are they going to golf at golf?
They go to golf at golf. That is at the end of the month,
Oh, okay.
the 30th. Yeah, so that's when they head up to the Windy City Collegiate, hosted by Northwestern in golf. Yes,
I'm excited for that one. So I think it was a great start for his era. I hope we talked about that so many times over the summer. Many good things to come. I think there'll be more wins after this. I think the Cowgirls might hit 100 wins program-wise this year. That 94 with that last win. I think they get 6 wins throughout this fall and the spring.
well, this one was 94, so you need 6 more. On average, he averaged over his 6 years about 5 wins up at Kent State, a little bit under 5 wins. So it's possible.
Yeah.
It's not like that would be uncharted territory for him. He wins a handful of tournaments every year, it seems like, and we'll see. We'll see how many more of these tournaments that they're able to go win. Obviously, they won a tournament last year. Went out to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas State was the best opponent, but a win's a win's a win. That's what they say, right? So, and quite frankly, after that win, you saw Liana Bailey and Han Swan Yu really get into their stride, and Michelle Forsland as well, because people forget we talked a lot about Bailey and Yu almost qualifying for the national championships. Michelle Forsland was the only one of the team to medal last year, finishing the top 10 at the Big 12 championships. And we know the Big 12 has some good golfers in it as well, so you can't underestimate her importance as well. So just exciting stuff, man. I think you're right. I hope you're right. If they could win 6 more tournaments this year, they might be knocking on the door for match play, which would be unbelievable to do in year 1 of Coach Robertson. By the way, his former squad, Kent State, got a win this weekend as well. So certainly left them in an okay spot. He didn't leave the cupboard bare there. Yeah. No Mike White taking all the good players to his next destination.
Mike White. That's a name I didn't have the hair again until the spring. So
yeah. Don't flatter yourself, Mikey. We're not a good reason we're throwing your name into our podcast here.
If Mike White ever gets hired at Oklahoma State, I hope he never hears these podcasts.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't think he ever would after what the socials has yelled at him over the years.
Here's the thing. If Mike White gets hired at Oklahoma State, it means Coach G is.
It means Coach G took his job. They switched jobs.
Or Coach G kicks his teeth in so bad that Mike White wants to join his staff.
There we go. Hey, I'd see that.
Yeah. So if I get a message from Texas asking why I'm, criticizing their head coach, we know that people listen to our podcast. That's
the only reason they know is John Langham told them. That's
yeah.
I'll be texting John afterward.
John's the only one over there that would listen to our podcast anyway. So good stuff there. Good conversation on the Cowgirls. I'm excited for golf season as well, but very excited for soccer season. Don't want to rush myself through that.
No, man, we're in the middle of it all, and it's nice just to relax and sit back and watch the season go.
Yeah, no doubt. Very quickly here, we'll get through this and then wrap things up here. It's late night podcast recording here in Stillwater. Jordan for the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. Oklahoma State tennis. Coach Young does a great job with that program. One of the first guys we had on the podcast was Coach Young. Appreciate him, and always a fun guy to talk to about tennis, and he continues to build a powerhouse over there at the Greenwood Tennis Center. And Lisa Marie Rue, as well as Bunyawi.
Chaiwat.
Yeah, there you go. I struggle with her name, but everyone knows who you're talking about when you say Bunyawi anyway. So Lisa Marie Rue had to go through the qualifying process for the Lawrence 15K Pro Circuit Tournament. Also competing, by the way, volunteer assistant coach Vladika Babic. She's going to be there as well, competing. Lisa Marie, though, did a great job in qualifying. She won 6-1, 6-3 to qualify, and then it was good there. Bunyawi defeated Sofia Smajina 6-2, 6-2 in the first round, and then she would compete in doubles with Ayumi Miyamoto. Ayumi is the freshman from Japan, coming in here, part of the 4th-ranked recruiting class. She was part of that. The other girl, Daria Detkovskaya, she's the one from Ukraine, I believe.
I think so.
And she was not part of the 4th ranked class because they ranked them before Chris Young finished out his class. So this was probably higher than a top 4 class, quite frankly. But we'll get to that, probably later on here when we're talking about them. But so you had Miyamoto and Bunyawi win 6-4, 6-4 in doubles. You had Bunyawi win in singles. You had Lisa Marie win in singles as well. And then finishing off Tuesday, Vladika Babic. She was the 4th seed in the tournament, and she took down Mayuka Akawa with 6-3, 6-4. So she advances as well. So there you go. Rue will face Delana Hewitt in the main draw for a chance to play Babic in the next round.
So yeah, I love watching Vladi play, and I've seen her play since I think it was her sophomore year, and she has had an incredible kind of tail. I love seeing her that she's doing well in the kind of pro circuit, and she's still sticking around OSU, and that was kind of cool. Just a little side note here, last week, and I guess the last 2 weeks, Coach Young was up in New York for the U.S. Open. He got to see a lot of his former players. Aliana Bolsova obviously was playing. I think she made it to the second round. But you get to see Victoria Oshkova, Carla Tumari. I think Maria Alvarez was up there. Katerina Adamovich might have been there. I know she's coaching at Cincinnati, but she might have made a stop up there. So it was kind of cool seeing, the I guess, alumni base he started to build. And Vladdy's just one of those, and he's going to have plenty more. So it's great to see that he's building that into the next, the next phase.
I'm going to try to pull up the live scoring. It looks like we're getting live. Looked like we were getting live updates on the OSU Twitter account today, and then they stopped. So I'll try to pull that up because it looks like Daria Detkovskaya, the freshman, she lost to Elizabeth Scotty in the first round on the singles side, but then she was going to play with Lisa Marie Rue in the doubles draw later on that day. So kind of interesting, by the way, that you see Miyamoto and Bunyawi playing together already, and you have Lisa and Daria playing together. So that's kind of interesting. Obviously, Lisa did not play doubles last year when it got down to crunch time. She was just a singles player for the team. But it's going to be interesting because obviously Catherine has to find her new partner because she loses Sophia, and then you have to replace a whole team. You have to replace an entire duo, which was Katie Stresnikova and Marina Gwinhart, and so that's going to be kind of interesting to see if they're able to do that, right? Like I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's. I would say it's a rebuilding year. I remember 2 years ago was a rebuilding year, definitely. Last year was kind of a reloading, if you will. This year, I mean, you do lose a lot of seniors, but you also have the best recruiting class. I'll go say top 3. I know they're ranked number 4. We will never know what they're actually ranked. After everybody came in, I'll say top 3. It's great to see, and just like Coach Robertson, Chris, he can kind of work with some people here. It's the fall. It doesn't really matter, if you will. You can, mess around with some lineups here and there and see who you like best, see how they work in tandems, and I think they'll be ready for the spring. Yeah.
So let's see here. I'm working off of my phone's hotspot, so it's not it's not a very swift process here. But trying to pull up. Here we go.
Scoring.
Here we go. Let's see here. We got Ayumi Miyamoto. Okay, so this is the 12th. So let's go back to the 11th. And let's see if we can't find Bunyawi. We cannot. So, who knows, man? We'll just go with that. Bunyawi and Ayumi Miyamoto will take on Delana Hewitt and Jada Robinson coming up today. That is today. And Bunyawi plays today against Anastasia Nefedova. And I believe, Vladika Babic will take on Delana Hewitt. So Hewitt must have beat Bunyawi.
Okay.
Otherwise, Bunyawi would have had a chance to take on Vladi, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been fun to watch.
Yeah, no doubt.
Old guard versus the new guard.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously, Jordan, it's you look at the lineup, and there you mentioned, is it a rebuilding year? Some people are assuming it is because you lose what you lost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you lose your number one singles player, you lose half of your number one doubles, you lose your entire number two doubles, you lose Sophia, who was dynamite on number 4. Marina, second half of the season, was just about unbeatable on court 3. But the fact of the matter remains is Lisa was playing at a number 1 level at the end of the season. Catherine, you expect her to take the next step. She's a top recruit. And then some of the recruits that you're bringing in, like, there's some top recruits. Plus Bunyawi, I think, like, she was unbeatable at 5. She was sweeping everyone at the 5 singles. So I'm with you. I don't think it's a rebuilding year. I think this is a year that if they play well enough in the regular season,
maybe playing at home.
This is a team that could play at home the entire postseason. I don't want to put pressure on them, but I don't care. I'll put pressure on them.
That's going to be exciting in the spring with the Nationals coming to town, and I'm ready for it. But like we said with golf, I'm not going to fast forward it, though. I'm going to enjoy the fall. I'm going to enjoy watching some soccer. Got softball coming up next month. So I'm going to enjoy where we are right now.
No doubt about it, Jordan. Appreciate Grace Yochum joining the podcast. Really looking forward to tonight. Number 8, Penn State.
Hopefully no more rat problems for her and Allie Jackson.
Yeah, no kidding. Holy smokes, man. Hopefully no rat problems for me either. No, I haven't had any yet, so.
Lucky.
Yeah. She's like, I don't want to throw Aspen under the bus, but so there you go. Good stuff there. Appreciate her joining us. Looking forward to tonight's match, and we'll have all sorts of breakdown. If anyone's listening to this podcast, you can also tune in on Friday for the afternoon sports drive, because we'll be talking about what happens tonight against Penn State. So good stuff there, Jordan. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you making the trek up here to North Stillwater, north of the wall, to record the podcast, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. It's nice. You had a nice setup in here, so it's more professional than our usual setup, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we got the boom arms.
We're on the closet.
Yeah, we got the boom arms out and a little bit of space. Just got to hang up some sound resisting wall pads or whatever you call them. So, all right, man. Hey, appreciate it, and we will catch you for episode 32 coming up next week. Appreciate everyone listening in. This is episode 31. This is the Cowgirl Coverage podcast on the Triple Play Podcast Network.